I never thought I'd find myself standing in my own driveway, watching police cruisers roll up like I was some kind of criminal, all because a neighbor's kid wanted my car, and I mean, wanted it in that spoiled my mom runs the HOA kind of way. There I was still in my gym shorts and an old t-shirt trying to make sense of the scene cops I knew personally stepping out of their cars, not realizing the guy they'd been called to arrest was actually their boss. And across the street stood the ringleader of all this, the local HOA Queen Bee arms folded tight, pointing at me and telling anybody who'd listen that I was corrupting the neighborhood. If she only knew. But hey, let's rewind a little, because this isn't just another HOA horror story. This is a story about what happens when people jump to conclusions and how sometimes the last person you expect is the one who changes everything. My name's Marcus Johnson, and I'd been living in Maplewood Estates for 3 years when all this went down. Maplewood's the kind of place where lawns look like something out of a magazine, and the houses are so perfect it's almost unsettling. Moving here was a big deal for me, a chance to give my daughter Emma a real home after years scraping by in a cramped apartment, especially after her mom Sarah passed away. I was a detective back then, burning the candle at both ends, trying to save enough for Emma's future. And let me tell you, those years were rough. Late nights, missed birthdays, plenty of peanut butter sandwiches for dinner. Emma never once complained. She'd just look up at me with those big brown eyes and say, "Daddy, when I grow up, I want to help people just like you." That kept me going, made me work harder, eventually got me promoted all the way up to police chief. So when we landed in Maplewood, it felt like I'd finally kept a promise to Sarah, to myself, to Emma. The day we moved in, Emma, 15 years old, pure energy, claimed the bedroom with the window seat. And I stood in our new backyard thinking, maybe, just maybe, we were going to make it. Most of the neighbors seemed all right, friendly enough, but with that keep-up appearances thing. You know, the type Mrs. Peterson with her ruler measuring everyone's grass, Mr. Williams leaving notes if you park 2 inches over your own driveway line. But none of them held a candle to Carol Mitchell. Carol lived 3 doors down in a white-columned house that looked like it belonged to some reality TV show. She was always perfectly put together, even taking out the trash and designer shoes, and she ran the HOA meetings like a presidential campaign. From day one, I could tell she kept tabs on everything. If your newspaper was 5 minutes late, she'd mention it. If your dog barked, she'd have a complaint written up before you could say bad dog. But I figured if we kept our heads down, helped with groceries, said good morning, she'd leave us alone. That's not how it went. I'll never forget the first Saturday morning she cornered me while I was washing my old Mustang, a red 18 GT, the only luxury I'd allowed myself after all those years of scraping by. "So, Marcus, what line of work are you in?" she asked. And I just told her law enforcement, no need to say more. She sized me up and said, "Interesting. I just wonder how someone in that field could afford a house like this." That stung. But I smiled and told her hard work pays off. She eyed the Mustang and warned Hope, "You don't plan on racing that thing around our quiet streets." "No, ma'am," I said, but inside I was thinking how little she knew about what that car really meant to me. Now, Carol's son Tyler, he was another story. 16, drove a brand new BMW and had that look in his eye when he saw my Mustang, like he was seeing something he just had to have. At first, it was innocent enough. "Mr. Johnson, what kind of engine? How fast does it go?" I love talking cars, so I indulged him, told him about the V8, the horsepower, how I'd spent years saving for it. But when he asked to take it for a spin, I drew the line. "Sorry, Tyler, but I don't let anyone drive my car. It's too important to me." That was the first no he'd probably heard in a long time, and boy did he take it personally. After that, Tyler kept showing up, offering to help wash the car, asking to sit in the driver's seat, anything to get closer. Each time I said no, he got a little more pushy. Emma noticed too. She told me, "Dad, that kid gives me the creeps. He just stares at our car." And when your own daughter says something like that, you listen. I tried to write it off as typical teenage envy, but something was off. One afternoon, Tyler came into my garage, not asking anymore, demanding. "It's not fair, Mr. Johnson. I should get to drive the cool cars in the neighborhood too," I told him. "Fairness isn't everyone getting what they want. I worked for that car, and if you want something like it, You work for it too." That's when he got red in the face and said, "My mom runs this HOA and she doesn't think people like you should even be living here." There it was, the ugly truth under all those polite conversations. Disappointment hit me harder than anger. Tyler wasn't just entitled, he was learning that from his mother. I asked him to leave, told him not to come back with that attitude. That's when he threatened, "Maybe I should tell my mom you're threatening me." Suddenly I realized this was about to go off the rails. Not my first rodeo with a false accusation, but it stings every time. Sure enough, Carol stormed over not 5 minutes later, ready for battle, reading me the riot act about threatening her son, waving her phone around, threatening to call the police. Tyler stood behind her, smirking, loving every minute. I tried to reason with her, but she wouldn't hear it. So when she finally whipped out her phone and started dialing, I almost laughed. She had no idea the cops showing up were people I'd worked with for years. But I also felt a jolt of dread because rumors travel fast in a place like this, and it's easy for reputations to get ruined. While we waited, Emma showed up, and when Carol tried to drag her in, Emma didn't flinch, called Tyler out for lying, made it clear she wasn't scared. When the officers pulled up, Martinez and Thompson, two of my best, they looked just as confused as I'd felt earlier. Carol put on her biggest performance yet, Tyler acting scared. But then, right as things were reaching a fever pitch, Tyler's phone rang loud, obnoxious, and on speaker. On the other end, his buddy Jake, who let slip the real plan. Tyler had been bragging about getting the Mustang and selling it off while I was in cuffs. The look on Carol's face when she realized what her son had really been up to, pure shock. Suddenly, it all fell apart. Tyler admitted everything, making the false report, trying to frame me, planning to steal and sell my car. Now the officers looked at me, asked if I wanted to press charges. I looked at Tyler, a scared kid, not a hardened criminal, and I thought this is where he finally gets the lesson he needs. I pulled him aside, made him own up to everything, apologize to the officers, get a job, pay back the wasted police resources, and write his mother a letter admitting the whole thing. He agreed honestly and with more remorse than I'd seen all day. And Carol, she broke down, apologized for her own snap judgments, even resigned from the HOA board a few weeks later, saying she was done using her position to control others. It didn't stop there. Tyler got a job at the grocery store, started helping neighbors, even came up with an idea to run a food drive with Emma. The kid who tried to frame me turned around and started making a real difference. He earned respect the right way, not by taking, but by giving. And just when I thought our saga had finally wrapped, the neighborhood got hit with a string of break-ins late one night. Armed suspects, real danger. Tyler showed up at my door, bat in hand, ready to help protect the very neighbors he'd once ignored. We used my Mustang loud, fast, and just crazy enough to scare the burglars off and block their escape until the cops arrived. Tyler stuck by my side, cool under pressure, and proved to everyone, including himself, that he was more than just a spoiled kid. After the dust settled, neighbors thanked him, Emma hugged him, and even Mrs. Peterson pulled him into a teary hug in her bathrobe. Tyler stood there, finally understanding what real character looks like, how respect is earned, not handed out like party favors. I stood on my porch that morning watching the sun come up over Maplewood Estates, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time, hope. Hope that people can change, that communities can come together, and that even in a place obsessed with perfect lawns and painted fences, you can find real connection if you're willing to look past the surface. Now, I'm curious, what would you have done in my shoes? Would you have pressed charges or given Tyler that second chance? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me about a time you saw someone change for the better, or maybe when you wished they had. Because honestly, justice isn't always about punishment. It's about helping people find their way back to who they're supposed to be. And that, my friends, is a story worth sharing.